Behind every crown, there's a story, and sometimes it's not all glitz and glam. It's real, raw, and hard. Today we're talking about mental health in pageantry because yes, even queens get depressed.
Category is Bring It to the Runway. What category are you walking in?
Femme Queen Realness.
Femme Queen Realness is in the house.
So I've snatched before.
And well, honey, you might have that one in the bag. Tens across the board. Hold that pose for me. DJ, start the music.
Welcome to Pageantry Redefined, the podcast where the crown ain't just cute, it's conscious. I'm your host, Deborah Mungai, Miss Africa Great Britain 2024 to 2025, and around here, we're not just strutting stages, we're shaking systems. Whether you're a future queen, a creative, or just trying to serve impact and face, this is your space. Let's talk pageantry, power, and purpose, and everything in between.
Bring it to the runway. Bring it to the runway. Bring it to the runway.
Period. Now, this is an episode that's very real, very unfiltered, and very much speaking about those things that not many people talk about. And it's to do with depression or to do with anxiety and to do with all these mental illnesses that we all have as queens, and sometimes we don't really speak much about them. I sometimes believe that speaking about something is a problem half solved, and it helps you, puts you in a space of, I'm aware of this, and this is what I'm either speaking about, and this is what I'm going to do about it. Sometimes it's not always about solving the problem, but also just being aware of it and making better decisions and finding ways on how to kind of cope with the issues and the mental issues that we go through is really important. And today I want to speak about just really depression. Would I say I've suffered with depression? I would say I've had moments where I have felt imposter syndrome. I've felt like life is not there. I think to open up the stage for this, I would love to share a story of how being Miss Africa Great Britain brought my purpose together. Something that I really share a lot. I remember in 2023, yes. I was finishing the year. I was really depressed. I was not in a great place financially, mentally. It was cold. Seasonal depression is real in the UK, okay? And I remember closing out the year and I told God, I said, I don't know what my purpose is on this earth. And trigger warning, there's something to do with suicidal. So if this is not something that you are okay with listening to, that's okay. You can definitely tune in on the next episode, but this is going to be very, very unfiltered and very raw. As I was saying, I got to a moment in 2023 when I was closing out the year on the New Year's resolutions, and I told God, I don't understand the reason why I'm here. I can't take my life away because I know that there's a bigger purpose for me. And I don't feel like I am doing anything that is either helping the world or helping me, because I'm very purpose. My life is just built on purpose, right? So I told God, I don't understand why I'm here, and I want you to show me and reveal to me the reason of why I'm here and where am I going with my life. And it was due to 2024 when I obviously created new goals for the year, and I was fighting to life, saying I don't want my life to be the same again with 2023, because 2023 I think I was going through a lot of shifting. I think I moved cities. It was a shift in friendships as well, and adapting to kind of like a new space. A space that I had also outgrown as well. So there was a lot of transitions, as well as a moment for me to kind of regain new energy, new people, new spaces. And I was very, I was down, guys. I was completely down. And towards the year, I worked through my goals. I wanted to be better, go to the gym. I wanted to be in a certain way in business. I wanted to show up in a certain way through content and photo shoots that I wanted to do. So I think that's kind of how I learned to get myself out of that pit, because when you jump into that well with you only holding the string that's going to get you out. And I believe no one, to me, from how I've seen it, no one really can take you out of that well except climbing it out yourself. Because yes, life circumstances puts us in those situations, but I believe that that's also a moment for us to save ourselves. So I knew I've got to save myself here some way, somehow. And one thing that I did was, putting myself now in mental positive and mental self-talk. So speaking life into myself and saying, I am amazing, I am great, I am successful, I am powerful, I am loved, I am appreciated, I am seen, I am heard. And through repetition of those words, I believe in manifestation alone, through the repetition of those words changed my reality, as well as not just speaking about them, but also kind of like the action points of what my goals were. And they all just realigned into bringing me towards the crown. And it was, I think when I won the crown and I sat on that chair, I really realized that every single part of me as well, those parts that people don't, because I'm in very different industries and like a lot of industries, and sometimes people don't see the benefit of spreading yourself too thin. And for me, it's not always about spreading myself, it's about inspiration, and it's about what's driving my creativity. So I felt as though my purpose realigned, and it was to pour into others. But before I also poured into others, I had to pour into myself first and elevate myself in that space of, you are highly favored. I'm actually looking at a board here of people's wishes for me, and one of the words that are being highlighted here is, you are highly favored, by Coach Joanne Muturi. She wrote that message for me, which is, yeah, you are highly favored. And wow, my heart is beating, because very, very, very aligned. It's putting myself of being highly favored for your world to be highly favored. So it was a journey. It was a journey, and I'm happy to be at this stage. Now, once I finish, I'm going to speak about finishing and kind of like having the, what would I call it? Post crowning. And that was also another part of depression, because I think it was imposter syndrome, and I was so scared that the crown was going to be taken away from me. But what do you call it? But every single day I'll Google it and I see my name is on there. So I will speak about post, but let's get into the first point for me is the pressure to be perfect and always on and always smiling. Now this takes me back to a moment where I was sharing my story with Wild Vision UK, speaking about my journey and being born also into the organization and the charity organization, and learning my charity aspects and characters through Wild Vision. So I was sharing the story and I was speaking to the interviewer, and I said something to do with, I think I was just sat and I was poised, and I don't know what she said, but she said something, and my response, I think she asked me a question of she said, how do you keep up with this image? And I said that I strive more for authenticity than imperfection, because as much as I'm a queen, I'm also a human being first. So as much as people see me on such an elevated or a pedestal, or this person that is amazing and is great, there's also a human being behind that who also makes mistakes, and who is not always going to be perfect or always going to look perfect or will always have the perfect words to say. I mean, that's what pageantry strives for. But for me as an individual and the character and the person that I will always strive for authenticity first. So it is throughout, it has been a journey of looking perfect. Sometimes I can't go around leave my house in a bonnet. I can't do that. My nails always have to look good. My lashes sometimes don't get done. But I think throughout the journey, I have learned what's authentic to me and what isn't, right? Like, I know that I always have to be on, I always have to be smiling because people are always looking at me, but also having those moments of, I will speak back on being overwhelmed, but I have my moments. So if I know I have an appearance on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I will have the other days where I just get to be me and stay in my own cocoon, in my own bed at home, and making sure that this is before I have to be performative and I have to show a certain way. I take space to be grounded first before I showcase whatever needs to be showcased. Now I sometimes fall short, which I give myself grace for. It's something I always have to remind myself that I'm not perfect. As well as every time that I go for an appearance, I always make sure that I've got someone who's with me, someone that can back me up, someone who can support me whenever I feel overwhelmed, and creating those safe spaces in these people who support me and people who also understand me and understand the person that I am and understand the mood swings that I go through sometimes as well, which is hard to cope, but also is an interesting character, right? So I think that's it on me is perfection, not authenticity, and not perfection. Moving to my second point, moments I felt overwhelmed or invisible despite the spotlight. I will start talking about being overwhelmed. I give this story where I was very, very overwhelmed. I went for an event and it started, I think, around 7 or 6. And I think I started getting ready between 5. And the event was meant to end around midnight or 11. And the event extended to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. And people were asking me for pictures. This is mentally, I was checked out by 11 o'clock. And usually when I'm checked out, I can't do anything. I do not want to do anything else. So I was mentally checked out and people are still asking me for pictures, and the person that took me there was not there at that moment. They were not, when I take pictures, I like to have someone there so that if it's too much, then, because I can't shout at people as a queen, that's just not, it's not good PR, so I would say I was very overwhelmed. I wanted just to pack my bags and go. So I was literally at a moment where I was packing my bags to go upstairs and I'm just crying because I'm like, this is so much. People don't understand that I'm a human being too, that I also get, like, I'm tired. I was just tired. I was exhausted. And people are still demanding for stuff and still demanding for pictures. And it's a moment where the first time that I broke down as a queen, because I felt like I wasn't being seen or my needs were not being prioritized, because everyone just wants, something, and they want something from me, and I'm just like, I'm not at that. I'm mentally gone. I can't do it, So it was a part of being overwhelmed, but that also helped me learn how to set boundaries on when I feel overwhelmed. I have my timeout. I go and sit in the car and I just do what I need to do. And if I say that this is already too much for me, the person who I'm with learns how to respect that boundary and saying, okay, let's round it up and let's leave, so it's something that I've learned to cope with it. Sometimes you just learn the hard way, but it's not something I'd wish on anyone, really, because I think people see celebrities and they're like, overwhelmed. Yeah, you're amazing, you're cool. But maybe that's the day off. That's their day off. I think I remember being in a club before. I was just out with my friends, and the person the club, I knew the pub, I said lounge owner, and they were like, oh, we should shout you out as Miss Africa on the thingy. And I was like, absolutely not. This is my day off. Please let me enjoy this for one moment. As much as I'm gonna miss this when I don't have the crown, it's going to be a bit like, please let me have my day off today, please and thank you. So I'm trying to realize if I've felt sometimes when I was invisible, but I feel like invisibility for me is not seeing myself first. I don't blame people for not seeing me. I continue to put myself in spaces where people see me and see me for who I am and for my value. And if they don't, then that's okay. Maybe you're just not meant to, and I think that's something that I've learned how to cope over the years, especially through in business, is I only work with clients who can see my value and sees my value first before having to continuously kind of pitch and continuously ask someone to see their value. I'd rather shine and come to the light, So in the moments that I don't feel seen, I just go back into myself and think deeper than, like, what is it about myself that I don't see, Is it that I'm comparing myself? Is it that I don't feel happy in this space, Now, my next point on how mental health stigma shows up in African and queer spaces. Now, I believe this is something that we don't speak about, and I will now link into my project that I'm doing, because this is very much linked into it. So in African and queer spaces, sometimes those don't happen. There's not many people that speak about being African and queer, and mental health is a big stigma in the African community. And sometimes, you cry and they ask you, why are you crying? Or sometimes you speak about depression, sometimes you speak about anxiety. And I am a champion for breaking those barriers and speaking. Just even awareness starts somewhere, And now continuing to link into the PSCC Tuko project, I am doing a project for the boy child. That's because I believe the boy child has been left behind, and there's so many great things for the girl child. So it's something that I'm championing for. And now, getting deeper into this project, I also realize how much emotional support that the girls get, but the guys are left behind. Why? Because of either toxic masculinity, or society deems that the boy child, we don't care about your mental health, or they don't give them the space to express and the space to deal with their emotions kind of healthily and in a healthy manner. And it's great. And I will also be doing an episode very soon with another a men's group here in the UK. There's a charity that's championing for the men and the boy child, and it would be lovely to just have a conversation with them and kind of hear their perspective, because this is a men's group. So it's a stigma that will continue to be broken down. I think over time, especially us Gen Zs, yes, we are very much championing, we want to make sure that these people, we're seen and that we're heard, and that we are speaking about these things. When it comes to like protests and things like that, you've seen how much the younger generation and just the Gen Z, like the youth, are very much adamant on, giving and having better decisions for our communities. So yeah. Now let's go into coping mechanisms that have helped me. I think I spoke about mental and positive thinking and positive self-talk. I would also say therapy. I haven't gotten into therapy. If you feel like therapy is an amazing part for you to kind of speak about the things that you don't get to speak about, or having someone who's aligned. That's another part with therapists, is making sure that the person that you're working with is very aligned to who you are and how you think as well. I do believe that there are resources out there that support mental health, especially just therapy for free. I believe those things are still out there. I think I've tried one, but I just never went for a session because I'm like, damn, am I that down bad? And yes, you are that down bad. So go and listen, go and get that help, and also pulling yourself out of that space as well. We have community. I think one of the best things that how I get to deal with these kind of mental issues now and being in the present is the friends that I have and the people that I surround myself with. Sometimes that it's easy to fall into a trap of having a specific mental issue because we don't surround ourselves with people who can elevate us and can pull us out of those wells that we keep digging into. And these are amazing people. These are our family. These are our friends. These are people who are in the safe spaces that we exist in. So that's another important part on how to deal with that. And self-care is another thing. Sometimes it's as easy as going to brush your teeth. It's as easy as making your bed. It's as easy as going to have a shower. You know, those are small things that, oh, it's easy as having a walk, and you call it a hot girl walk. So it's in those spaces and those actions that we take to improve our own mental health, right? Now, bringing me to my last point, which is why it's okay to not be okay, because vulnerability is strength. Now, I find so much power and so much strength in shedding tears. If a person can shed tears and be able to express themselves emotionally, that is number one, a release. When I talk about strength, it's a release of the emotions that you feel. Instead of bottling them in, it's a way of expressing yourself, as well as a way of releasing those emotions mean energy in motion. So if you're able to express yourself and you're able to let go of these emotions, feeling them and moving on to the next thing. Now, this is making me think about, I went to Vipassana, the meditation center, and that's one of the things that I reflected on, is that we strive for feeling bliss, but sometimes we don't realize that you're not going to get into bliss if you don't feel the emotion. You have to feel the emotion first to feel the bliss. I think that in life we tend to we tend to chase bliss, and we tend to chase feeling happier and feeling better, but sometimes we forget that feeling that emotion of sadness, and I am angry at this point, and I feel angry because of this and because of that, and just feeling that anger and letting that anger go leaves space and creates room for better emotions to be created. So now, I'm not perfect, guys. I'm not perfect at emotions. I feel like even before I went for the Vipassana, I was very emotionally blocked. I never understood why I felt so stagnant, and I was stagnant because my emotions were not falling through. Now, one of the things that I do a lot is journaling. I journal every single day, most days, just how I feel, what's in my head at the moment, what do I want to create today, what do I feel upset about today. And my journal is like my personal connection and my own personal, my own way of having a relationship with myself, which is really, to me, it's one of the most important relationships you can ever have. So having that conversation with yourself, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I want to release, this is what I'm upset about, this is how I want to make this better, this is an idea that I just had and I want to create today. So it's having that moment of a relationship. Now, I'm saying it's okay to not be okay, because learning to be not okay gives you room to be okay. Okay, now clock that. Clock that T. Gives you room for you to be okay, and an opportunity for you to be okay. Now, it's the same way as having a problem and not being able to identify the problem first and being comfortable. This is the problem that I have, and you're aware of it. Now helps you create a solution and gives you a better mindset to create that solution. Now, remember, your crown isn't just about what people see on stage. It's about how you care for yourself off stage. You are not alone in this. Stay tuned and keep shining through the struggle. This has been Pageantry Redefined, and see you on the next episode. Bye.